What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the 16th episode of our F750 CrewCab build series. In the previous episode, you watched us install our rear axle, which means in today's episode, we are going to install the front axle I just picked up. We're going to install the hub assemblies for the rear axle and mount our wheels and tires throughout the truck. After that, we are going to figure out if we have a steering issue between our 1976 steering box and a modern day front axle. If we do, we're gonna have to resolve that. If not, we lucked out big time. So there's nothing to it but to do it. Stay tuned. Alrighty, we got back to Kyle's shop and we have the front axle for the truck. This front axle is from a 2011 F750. The yard that I got it from did have a 2016, however, it was damaged when they removed it. The hubs were not moving freely. This was damaged, it was bent. It was also in an engine fire, so the calipers were damaged as well. The whole point of buying a complete axle is to be able to essentially take it, swap it into the F750, and call it a day. I don't want to buy a brand new axle and have to replace every aspect of it like we're doing on the rear axle with new hubs, which we do have an update for that. They are going to be shipped out. Well, they were technically supposed to be shipped out 2 days ago, so we were going to get those relatively soon. But this is a 10-lug bolt pattern. I made sure to double check that. We have the hydraulic brakes, and this is rated for 12,000 pounds, whereas the F750 stock front axle for the 76, I believe, is 8,000 or 10,000. So we are beefing it up a little bit, which will doesn't matter really, but you obviously want to buy an axle that's rated for the same or higher rating than what you're tearing out. So we have that covered. So next up is to get it off the trailer and start disassembling the stock one in the F750 and toss this guy up underneath and get it mounted. All right, you guys, there she blows. We have some wheels and tires mounted. It can be confirmed these tires and wheels fit. We have the right bolt pattern. The self-centering tabs per se fit really well. We were still concerned about those just because we could get a rough measurement that was relatively accurate, but we didn't know until we tossed these military bud wheels on. So we still weren't sure about that, but they are tight. What those do is they literally just self-center your wheel around the hub, so that way all your studs fit really well, because there is a little bit of play in these. For the most part, they're centered, obviously, because of these, so we are good to go. Now, if you can see, the studs are not long enough, so we are going to have to get new studs, which is a lot better than having to get all new wheel hub assemblies like we did for the rear axle. So this is a win. They fit. There's plenty of clearance on the backside, around the thing, around the calipers. The steering horns fit, and overall we are pretty stoked. So what we're going to do now is clean up a little bit of this area so that way we can wheel this in and start removing the front axle to toss this bad boy up there. So you guys will see that up next, and there's nothing to it but to do it. Let's get that front axle out. Alrighty, update time. We have a front axle in the truck. It took us a little bit of time to maneuver it inside and up underneath it, but we got it. And it fits really, really, really well. So there are a couple things that we will need to fix on it, and I will show you guys that now. So the spring pack is 2.5 inches wide, and the plate that it sits on is wider where the U-bolts come down into, which is not a big deal because on the factory F750 for the axle, it does have a bottom plate that pretty much clamps in the spring pack, and then the U-bolts are wider for it. So right now if you look down it, the U-bolts are like right here and right here. So obviously the spring pack is more narrow, but we will get a bottom bracket for it that will keep this centered and get some custom U-bolts for it, and that'll be fine. The reason why we're not concerned about it is A, that's what they have on the factory F750 for the front axle, and then B, the pilot holes, whatever you want to call them, on the spring pack that goes down and sits on the axle, they are 32 inches wide from center to center, and that's exactly how it is on the axle as well. So it sits in those pilot holes on each side, really tight, really snug. So obviously that's where these spring packs have to sit. Secondly, if I come around here, we have the horn for the steering, this guy right here. We did luck out that it does fit, everything does fit this, not ball joint, but essentially it does fit inside of this horn really well. However, we have more steering to the left than the right because this, where it sits in the center, is not the center of our movement for our steering. So if you were to steer it, so we have a lot more turn to our left than we do, as I'm grunting while I show you guys this, to our left, or to our right, excuse me. So Kyle thought of the idea that some of these, they have teeth inside of it. Some of them, you can actually take this and rotate it, essentially like a click, frontwards or backwards. So we're hoping when we center this tire out, I'll just do it right now. As this sits right here, we will be able to turn it one way or the other. It's most likely gonna have to go back, so it's more like that. We're hoping that we can turn it, make it go back, and then this will be exactly centered on the axle, so we have the same exact turning radius, both right side and left side. And besides that, I believe that is all of the issues with it. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, we're gonna have to get longer studs because those bad boys aren't long enough. But overall, we're super stoked about it. It has like the perfect amount of offset for me. I like the tires to just be sticking out just a hair bit. So if you look down it, the tires are sticking out just a bit, which is perfect in my opinion. And overall, I think it looks really, really, really nice. So unfortunately, we are still waiting for the hub assemblies on the backside. And really quickly, I will show you guys what we're talking about with the packs and how they get self-centered. These guys right here, on the front axle, there's one of these on top. So if you can see here, the width of the spring pack is a lot more narrow than where the bolt holes go at, obviously. This is exactly how it's gonna be on the front, but this I guess like self-centering block will be on the top and not the bottom on those. So that's what we're referring to. Anyways, that is it. We got it in. We are super stoked about it. We will start working on the hub assemblies once those parts come in. Hopefully in the next couple days. This is a Saturday, so I'm hoping by Monday and Tuesday, or Tuesday, they will be in. We can get the rear end all built back together, get some wheels and tires put on it so we can have a matching truck. But overall, we're stoked. These things are monsters, and we're beyond happy with how smooth you can swap a brand new front axle into a 1976 F750. All right, you guys, that's a wrap for today's episode. We got the front axle installed. We got wheels and tires mounted, which is a huge step in the right direction for this project. Now we are hoping to have the hub assemblies for the rear end here ready to be installed so we can mount the wheels and tires for that. However, It's a waiting game for parts usually, and we're kind of caught up in that mix right now. But that means in the next episode, we can install those hub assemblies, we can get wheels and tires mounted, as well as figuring out the rest of the front axle when it comes to the blocks, the steering horn, and things like that. So we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next one.